That's what everybody needs to do all day, every day.
Yeah.
Just at least once a day, mock the fact that the emperor has no clothes.
How's about the attack on comedians and free speech in general? Bracing to be a comedian in America, isn't it?
You know how I felt about this for a long time. It's like we all missed the era where we mattered, and now it's back.
Right.
Congratulations.
Right.
We went from 0 to Lenny Bruce in like 60 seconds. Everybody's Lenny Bruce, just because they dare make even the most pedestrian joke at dear leader's expense, which says free speech absolutist, I think, to the core.
Lisa Bloom's birthday party this weekend talking to Robin Tyler, the comedian, who she's in her 80s now.
Yeah.
She was, and Gloria Allred prosecuted one of the first marriage equality cases with her and her wife. I'm sure you know Robin, but we had a...
Yes.
Exactly what you said. She's like, oh, it's always been like this. That's how she talks now. She's like, it's always been like this, the Smothers Brothers, Lenny Bruce. And I'm like, yeah, but we've never had a president like this.
No. We never. No, it has not been like that. Like this, it has not always been like this ever. Well, since then, since the '60s, when you had the sort of J. Edgar Hooverization of pop culture, where they were winding people up or winding them down, and in the case of ultimately, even in the case of Lenny Bruce, they knew they would fail ultimately in front of the Supreme Court if he ever got there and was able to If you watch his last performance video, it's very sad. But the point is, they knew he would be found in the right and he could say whatever he wanted. But they wanted to burn him down. They wanted to wear down his resolve, and they did. They effectively exhausted the man financially. Emotionally, and that's what led to his demise. And there's an element to that in this White House, that they feel like they're gonna wind everybody down to the nub, and it's not gonna work.
And I said, when people talked about, there were all these assassinations in the 60s, but again, we never had a president like this. We have never had a president like this that actively pours gasoline on every fire and incites more violence and more hatred.
Right. Well, to be completely fair, all of these things fall into one category, which is not Epstein. Everything about this, I swear to God.
I think he's actively telling people like Thom Hartmann to commit crimes on tape to distract them.
Exactly, right. Everything, I would argue that case has been around for a little bit, and I think he wanted it leaked out about Hartmann, instead of just leaving it buried, let a little of it out, so they'll get distracted with that as well. To just eat up airtime.
Operation Look Over There is proceeding
That's
as planned.
Exactly right. Yeah. And everything. There are two categories of information right now: Epstein and not Epstein, like spa and not spa. You know what I mean? He doesn't care if it's spa, just as long as it's not spa when it comes to Epstein. And that's why I've created a counter on my live stream that is counting the days since he took office that they have not released the Epstein files, and it updates every day automatically, just because it'll never end.
I'm just remembering, since your name is nuzzled into my breast along with John and Frangela. I just was thinking,
it is a little crowded, I will say. I don't mind it, but
when you were talking about the history of trying to suppress, you remember when we were starting Sexy Liberal Tour, there were theaters that had conservative boards or whatever and wouldn't allow Sexy Liberal Tour into the theater. So I mean, you're right. They've tried this. Trust me, it's not hate speech. It's speech they hate that they don't want to hear.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Well, and again, that's the issue with the First Amendment, and it's something that across the board, a lesson that everybody has to learn equally, or it doesn't work. And so the right has been hiding behind this wall of they won't allow me to be openly racist at work without me getting fired, which is the purview of a private organization that doesn't want their speech infringed by an employee, which is, or YouTube kicking somebody off because it'll eat advertising dollars. It's not the public square; it's a private thing. They have the right to kick you off. That's their rules. They can set their terms of service. There's a difference between that and the government doing it.
Yeah.
And there's a very distinct difference between the actions of YouTube kicking off Nick Fuentes or somebody like that and the president of the United States threatening networks if they don't kill comedy that offends him, which I think we should have how you have a Million Man March kind of a thing in response to these things? We need a Million Joke March. Everybody needs to post a joke about Donald Trump, whether it's just I don't care, from a knock-knock joke to your favorite line to it, anything like that. That's what everybody needs to do all day, every day.
Yeah.
Just at least once a day, mock the fact that the emperor has no clothes. And he looks like a burnt circus peanut.
Just got that in at the buzzer. Michael Eisner, a former CEO of Disney, blasted his successor for the decision to suspend Kimmel's show, characterizing it as caving to an out-of-control intimidation from Trump's administration. He also apologized for the 1995 cancellation of the Stephanie Miller show and also the meltdown of Hal Sparks' musical equipment as he was auditioning to be the musical.
Fried my musical
DJ
career
on
and
that.
seized it up for a decade.
Yeah.
Sure.
Really? I did not know this.
You didn't know that?
He's told this story a million times. He auditioned to be my, DJ or my whatever.
I never knew this.
Yes, and he burned.
I was going to be her musical accompaniment because they didn't want to do a whole band, so they were trying to find that literally it was like calling all one-man bands. And so I would play guitar. I had a microphone, a headset microphone, and a keyboard, and I could play all the stuff by myself, like this kind of cheap version of the late night band.
Yes.
Right.
Stan's Anton Fig. And they did it in this warehouse in Burbank, someplace near Glendale or whatever. And it literally blew a fuse or something, fried all my equipment.
Wow.
And my biggest investment was this $3,000 Korg keyboard that I had put all my money in from Nightstand, the show I had done.
And you know what?
And I was like, I'm going to do this, and it cooked it.
When we hired a fantastic African-American guy named Hammy, who was fantastic, and you never screamed DEI hire. So, I'm just going to say I'm going to give you that. You never whined about it.
I was too busy reeling from the destruction of my personal property and the inability to
From the financial loss.
We've talked about this. I almost owed you the Sexy Liberal tour, so you're welcome.
Yeah, you definitely did. Yes, absolutely.
Debt paid. Okay.
Right.
So Eisner did not mention Iger by name, but lamented the lack of leadership shown in the decision to suspend Kimmel's show immediately after Carr's aggressive yet hollow threatening of Disney, calling it yet another example of out-of-control intimidation by the government, suggesting this move put political and financial self-interest over free speech. He said, where has all the leadership gone if not for university presidents, law firms, managing partners, and corporate chief executives standing up against bullies? Who then will step up for the First Amendment? The suspending indefinitely of Jimmy Kimmel immediately after the chairman of the FTC's aggressive yet hollow threatening of Disney is yet another example of out-of-control intimidation. Maybe the Constitution should have said Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press except in one's political or financial self-interest. And he said, by the way, he finds Jimmy Kimmel very talented and funny. So, I was saying last week, reportedly, somebody was retweeted Charlie Kirk who said, Jimmy Kimmel's not funny. And then, we did this for you, Charlie, or whatever. And someone else said he thought South Park was funny. So I'm like, is this where we are, Hal? Whatever Charlie Kirk found, the only people that have free speech are people that Charlie Kirk thought was funny. I mean, it's...
Well, and again, Charlie Kirk's death and the sadness of someone being murdered is yet another thing that falls into not Epstein. And so Donald Trump will latch onto that. It won't matter. It is literally just cycling through distraction again. Trump doesn't care. I mean, you can boil down his real reaction to Charlie Kirk's death to that moment when they asked him about it and he went, by the way, I'm building the Epstein ballroom over here.
That's the part that Jimmy Kimmel aired that I think was what triggered him. He didn't say anything about Charlie Kirk. It was about MAGA and Trump's reaction and how they were politicizing it, which he was absolutely dead on correct about.
Mm-hmm. There has to be a point where, no matter what they do, they're staring down the barrel of the fact that it is winding down, that all of these outrage windows are closing, and there's still a good 25% of deep, hardcore maggots that desperately want the Epstein stuff resolved, and it's not going away. And so get ready for him to wag the dog everywhere, whether it's boats off of Venezuela. They're running out of fishing boats to blow out of the water, whether it's, his support for Netanyahu, which is, not paying off for everybody, even on the right, who, wants this to wind down or come to some sort of conclusion. So they all see the end of this runway, and it's ugly.
Yeah.
And so he's going to respond in a way that's equally ugly.
Yeah, well, we were saying, look at how ugly his remarks at the Charlie Kirk Memorial, what a ridiculous display this whole thing was.
Well, it was a mockery of Christianity. Is what he did. He literally,
and it was all about himself as usual. Maggie Haberman, by the way, is reporting that Charlie Kirk's death has affected him mostly just about himself. His fears about his own, what do you call it? Assassination attempts or whatever. It's always only about him, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, it has to be. Because the issue is he runs out of options where when you boil it down to the essence, some of the things are about Epstein, so or his own crimes, and so he can only go so far before the next logical question is, well, yeah, that's because you knew Jeffrey Epstein, you were friends for a quarter century, and or you hired Bill Barr, whose dad gave him a job. Who, if you don't like that guy, then why did you hire him? Oh, right, because his dad gave Jeffrey Epstein a job. It is so crazy.
Even Alex Acosta apparently said they can release all of this. So, and he's the one that gave him a sweetheart deal in the first place, which Trump very well knew when he hired him as labor secretary, because he was again one of Epstein's best friends.
And then Trump, like with everybody, hung him out to dry. Yeah. Made it about him, and then jettisoned him. Didn't let him keep the job. Like gave him this sweetheart job, which was obvious graft. Same thing he did with Homan and all these other guys, and Pam Bondi, who could have tore up that special non-prosecution agreement, but didn't, and all this stuff. It's glorious. And my favorite part of it is that it's like he's in this hall of mirrors or whatever, and every turn he thinks that he's found the way out, and it just reflects back on him. And he can pave the Rose Garden, and he can build the Epstein ballroom, and he can throw a UFC fight, and still everywhere he goes in the rest of the world, they're going to project a giant picture of him partying with Jeffrey Epstein on Windsor Castle.
There you go. By the way, did I mention yet this morning that there are more of us than them? Republicans against Trump say terrible numbers for Trump in the new Washington Post Ipsos poll. 59% disapprove of his handling of the economy. 64% disapprove of his tariffs. Americans aren't buying the BS lie that foreign countries pay us trillions in tariffs. I mean, the walls are closing in. And I mean, by the way, you said the peace president is about to get us back into Afghanistan. Congrats, maggots. That's what I said. It's literally they give us back Bahram Air Force Base, or bad things will happen. This is right.
Like what? What? We're gonna reinvade? What are you talking about? And again, you've got an issue with like, Trump's base. Actually, this is the problem, because before, I think with Reagan and Bush even, there was an element of like, yeah, he says that, but he doesn't really mean it, and we want him to do the opposite anyways. He's just doing it to sucker the independents so that when he gets elected, he can give us what we want. That's kind of what he did the first term. It's kind of what Bush did as the guy you could have a beer with and then get us into Afghanistan and Iraq for a decade. But ultimately, this point, they're true believers. They want it. They don't want more of these foreign wars. And he's like, nah, you know what? There's too much money in it.
If you're a homeowner in America, you need to listen to this. The FBI has been warning about a type of real estate fraud on the rise called title theft. Yikes. And your equity is the target. Here's how it works. Criminals can forge your signature on a single document, use a fake notary stamp, file it with the county, and just like that, on record, they own your home. Using your ownership, they can take out loans against your equity or even sell your property, and you won't even know about it until a foreclosure or a collection notice shows up in your mail. That's why I have partnered with Home Title Lock, so you can protect your equity and find out today if you're already a victim. Go now to HometitleLock.com/Stephanie. You'll get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of all of your title records, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud occurs, their U.S.-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix it. Don't be a victim. Protect your equity today. Go to HometitleLock.com/Stephanie. One more time, that's HometitleLock.com/Stephanie.